All right, so Donald Trump, he is the center of the Mueller report, individual one. And there is new audio that emerged that was released by a federal judge named Judge Emmett Sullivan on Thursday that revealed something that was referenced in the Mueller report, but now we actually get to hear it. And it is Donald Trump's lawyer reaching out to Michael Flynn's lawyer. And this is one of those concrete details in the persuasive paragraph that Donald Trump's team tried to obstruct justice. Previously, we had seen copy of this that was written down, but there's something about hearing one lawyer reach out and try really hard not to say, hey, can you not cooperate with the feds and thereby obstruct justice? That is super fascinating. Here's the first little bit of it.
It wouldn't surprise me if you've gone on to make a deal and work with the government. I understand that you can't join a joint defense. That's one thing. If, on the other hand, there's information that implicates the president, then we've got a national security issue, or maybe a national security issue, I don't know.
So that little bit where he's like, hey, I heard you might be collabing with the feds. What if you told him? And not because we don't want you to do that, because that's illegal if we say it, but if we might have, what can I say, a national security issue. Hearing it, because you've read the Mueller report, yeah. Hearing it, what'd you think?
Well, first of all, I couldn't really understand what the hell he was saying, but it was something like, I know that by what was written down, because I think he was clearly having dinner or something while he was,
right.
It was a little bit of, well, we might have a national
He's been cultivating those droopy jowls for so long that they are now in his mouth.
Right, first of all, absolutely the president asked Dowd to do this, right? There's no way that Dowd would have acted on his own in order to reach out to Flynn's lawyer. And that he said basically, this was in response to Flynn's lawyer saying we can no longer share information with the president about this investigation, which means that Flynn was sharing information about the investigation with the president while it was going on, right? And then they were like, all right, we did a bad thing. We can't do this. We have to cooperate now. And now you have Dowd saying, well, I don't know what could happen. And there's some more there where he says basically that you know how the president feels about you.
Yeah.
You know how the president essentially. This is all going down, and when you read the Mueller report, especially the third act, which is this obstruction act, it's all the stuff we've known because of the things we've seen play out in the media. It's the things he's said out loud. It's interviews that have happened. But when you see it all down, you're like, oh, this is just a mafia playbook. This is exactly how it all goes.
So we have that clip of the lawyer Dowd saying, you know how the president feels about you. So you hear it. It's like, you know, the president has felt a certain way about Michael Flynn, but you don't hear it. Now we get to hear it. Take a listen.
You know, we need some kind of heads up, just for the sake of protecting all interests if we can, without you having to give up any confidential information. So, and if it's the former, then, you know, remember what we've always said about the president and his feeling toward Flynn. You know, that still remains, but
how he has felt about Flynn and continues to feel. Why is it so slow?
Do you think that Flynn's lawyer is still listening to the voicemail at this point?
He's like, all right, when is he gonna finish so I can send it to the feds?
As he's just sort of like eating watermelon seeds off of his chest. I don't know what he's doing. He's just like looking.
I hope he doesn't charge by the hour.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Maybe that's why.
Like, how long is this voicemail?
I got
like 40 minutes.
I already billed 29 hours today. I gotta fill it out.
I mean, again, from the Mueller report, there are so many requests from the president to people like Cohen, to people like his lawyer Don McGahn, to not Carter Page, one of the other stooges, all his stooges, basically.
Stromopoulos? No.
No, Papadopoulos. No, he was more of a side character.
Copy.
But this is in the obstruction part, where Trump is like, "Hey, I'm gonna fire Comey. Don't fire Comey." Okay, he fires Comey. Hey, I'm gonna fire. Oh no, the special prosecutor was appointed. My presidency is over, which is what he said. This is terrible for me. Then he wants to fire Robert Mueller. Don't fire Robert Mueller. Don McGahn threatens essentially to resign if he does. So along the way, you see that all of his lackeys are essentially trying to block him from obstructing justice, but then he'll go around them or continue to try. And as you know, as they've been interviewed by the special prosecution, and they've given that account that essentially they were asked to do this thing and they didn't, or they tried to stall it, or they tried to pass it along to somebody else. And you see that, Dowd is doing the same thing at the behest, clearly, of the president, trying to lean on Michael Flynn's lawyer. This isn't the juiciest conversation. We know that the best audio that's still out there is between Michael Flynn and Sergei Kislyak, the ambassador, Russian ambassador. And we know that that conversation was about sanctions. And we know specifically after Obama kicked out however many Russian nationals it was, after we found out that they were meddling in our election. And then the Trump administration via Flynn reached out and said, hey, calm down, don't react. Russia shouldn't retaliate. And Kislyak was like, all right, you got it.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna be in power soon. And that's out there. So that's the juiciest one. And mind you, this judge is fierce. AF. But no, this judge is pretty fierce. I mean, Flynn started acting out, meaning I think he started giving a few press interviews, or his lawyers did on his behalf, a la Roger Stone and his, just really horrible memes and like idiocy when it comes to trying to hyper politicize the investigation. And the judge was like, I'm watching this. Like, I see what you're doing, and you don't have, as far as I'm concerned, this might be borderline treason. Do you want me to sentence you now? And his lawyers were like, yeah, sentence, or right. They basically delayed the sentence, is what I'm saying, because the judge was too upset. Y'all read
right?
The
we
thing.
can see that. So not everybody has read the thing. You have.
Doing a great job.
I've read parts. I did much of the like, oh, that chapter sounds interesting, and opened it, and lo and behold, it was quite interesting. But knowing that, what is your proposal between Nancy Pelosi saying, I want to see him in jail, not impeached, versus the 50-odd folks who have said, in government, let's impeach the guy right now?
I mean, I'm still getting over how annoyed I am at Robert Mueller, actually, for saying that this body can't indict, that the actual special prosecution cannot suggest indictment. But then he goes on to say, even if we could, we don't think a sitting president should be indicted because he still has to govern. And that's also stated in the report. And it's like, what? Say one thing or the other. Don't say both, because clearly this president is already consumed and overwhelmed with the investigation as is, and he's not governing.
So here's what I see. I see essentially like when I hear about Barr and Mueller hanging out at Martha's Vineyard or wherever, I just see like the waspiest convention in the universe. And in the language of white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, that is, in Mueller's mind, the equivalent of saying, indict him. Indict him, he did so much stuff wrong. I am saying it as clearly as I know how. Listen, I haven't even told my children I love them. This is me being explicit.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.